The hidden costs of employee turnover and attrition. That is the million-dollar question. How much is it really costing your organization? If you're a CEO or an HR leader and you're thinking about your organization and the profitability and the long-term health of it, you've got to be thinking about employee turnover and how to deal with that. What is the root cause of turnover? We can blame the worker, we can blame the economy, we can blame COVID, but it really comes down to a series of very fundamental human need type issues. These basic needs that all of us need in order to be happy both in our personal and our professional lives are universal across all the industries and roles that we'll talk about. Overall job satisfaction. Well, that is fueled by a lack of career and professional development opportunities. It's affected greatly by the company culture. So nobody has a set of core values that isn't rooted in things like, let's have integrity, let's work hard, let's strive for excellence, let's strive for growth. Just about any set of core values is going to revolve around some statement similar to that. But the reality is the culture of an organization may not be reflecting those, and it's affecting the morale of the people in the organization. Work-life balance is a major issue for many workers, and it has to be addressed. The relationships people have at work with their coworkers and their supervisors is another big driver of turnover in the workplace. And it can be closely related to those professional development type goals that people have. As human beings, very few of us like to be static in our personal and professional growth. It's by our nature to be curious and to want to grow and to develop and to not be stuck doing the same thing over and over and over. In toxic cultures, that gets squashed. People are held back or held into tasks and jobs that are repetitive and non-growth oriented. These are some of the major root causes of what's driving turnover within these organizations. A big part of why that happens is it starts because we forgot to create a system, a set of processes to enhance the overall quality of life, to enhance the culture within the organization, to create growth opportunities for folks, and to keep the quality of life for folks within the organization moving forwards, not backwards. And that all begins with hiring. It starts with bringing in folks with great integrity and attitude, a fantastic training and onboarding system to help them grow and to flourish, and to help indoctrinate folks into our company culture, to help make sure that they can embrace the positive core values that we've set out to define that culture. And lastly, performance management. Performance management is that feedback that all of us need that hopefully helps us measure and quantify what and how we do our job and how we're performing, but also most importantly, sets out the path for growth within ourselves and within an organization. So we need to address these three major things, or these four major areas: hiring, onboarding, training, and performance management, to address this massive turnover problem you might be having in your organization. What I like to think about are the opportunity costs, because those can be staggering. It can literally be $1 million per hire. So how do you get to these staggering, 1 to 2.5 times annual salaries? It starts with decreased productivity. This can be pretty easy to measure if you just put your mind to it. I like to use a few different examples here. So one would be the manufacturing worker. They make 10 widgets a day, and those widgets are worth $1,000. That's $10,000 worth of product that person creates on a daily basis that goes on to be sold to a consumer. While these people are training and onboarding, and it can take weeks, if not months to years to get these people up to full productivity, let's just say they're only hitting 50% of their productivity. You can even begin to calculate, well, their trainer is losing productivity. They're the top performing person, and instead of focusing on their job, they're spending time training this other person, and they might be losing 25% of their productivity. Easy math. You're losing $5,000 worth of productivity a day while this person is onboarding, times 20 days. That's $100,000 of lost productivity for your manufacturing worker. Let's take your customer service representative. This one's kind of the squishier one, right? Customer service representative, it's their job to make sure your clients are happy. Well, let's just say your average customer is worth $10,000 a year to you. If this person is not doing a good job and they lose 20% of the customers that they service versus your expected average customer service person, when they service 100 customers, that's $200,000 in lost existing revenue from existing customers that you might be dealing with. Another great customer service one would be an upsell. We'll say average interaction is going to add an additional $1,000 in revenue, and this person is interacting with 10 people a day. That's 200 people a month, and they're not hitting those numbers. So now you're talking about a loss of, again, $200,000 a month in lost opportunity that this customer service person was tasked with upselling on average $1,000 per customer, right? So you start to see how these numbers add up very, very, very fast. Okay, let's use another kind of service-based example. Let's say your average customer service person helps 10 people a day, but your new underperforming customer service person only helping 5. That means you need 2 of these people in order to meet what one person's level of productivity. So that means you're doubling the cost. So a $50,000 a year person means you now need 2 of them to get the same amount of work done. It's now costing you $100,000 to get a $50,000 a year job done. So these are some really basic examples of where you lose out on some serious opportunity costs by getting the wrong hire or by turning somebody over. What about the turnover part, right? So the wrong hire is this time that it takes to train them up. Turning them over means you had somebody at full production, you lose them, it takes you a month to find their replacement, so now you've lost a month of productivity, and you still have the training and onboarding program for the new hire, hopefully is a good one. So those numbers become enormous in these scenarios. One of my favorite scenarios to think about is in sales roles. So it's very common for somebody to have $1 million sales quota. But whatever that sales quota is, a few $100,000 in new business revenue to $1 million in new revenue, or managing a book of business and they're expected to grow that $1 million book of business by 10% annually, but instead they hit 90%, you just lost $200,000 plus what you paid those folks. If it's a new business revenue generation goal of $250,000 a year and that person falls flat on their face, you just lost $250,000 of unrealized potential revenue. All of this is cost of turnover calculator. So we've given you these examples. I'd like you to go through those and really calculate both those hard and soft costs so that you can begin to identify what that really means for each role within your organization. That is a great starting point for tackling this problem, is understanding those costs. Watch our next video about the real costs of employee turnover. That'll help you begin to quantify what it might be within your organization, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.